31 BC. The waters off western Greece are black with warships. Mark Antony commands 230 of the finest war galleys ever built.
Massive, bronze-rammed, moving in perfect formation with thousands of oarsmen pulling in perfect sync. Rome's destiny is being decided on this water. Nobody on either side doubts it. Whoever cutting through those same waters, leaving a wake no ancient sailor has ever seen, is something that shouldn't exist for another 2,000 years.
The USS Gerald R. Ford, a 100,000-ton nuclear aircraft carrier from 2022.
Carrying 90 aircraft, 5,000 crew, and enough firepower to end civilizations. Not delay them, end them.
The USS Gerald R. Ford is not a warship in any sense the Romans would understand. It's a floating sovereign nation. At 1,100 feet long, it's longer than 3 football fields and taller than an 18-story building.
It runs on 2 nuclear reactors that need no refueling for 25 years. It doesn't care about wind.
It doesn't care about tides. It moves at 30+ knots in any direction it chooses, which to a Roman oarsman pulling
What it carries is where things get truly unfair. 90 aircraft, FA-18 Super Hornets.
EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare. E-2D Hawkeyes for airborne surveillance.
Each FA-18 alone flies faster than the speed of sound and carries precision munitions.
RM-116 rolling airframe missiles, and Phalanx CIWS.
a rotary cannon that fires 4,500 rounds per minute, specifically designed to destroy anything that gets too close. The Ford doesn't just fight. It dominates entire theaters of war simultaneously, from 50,000 feet down to the waterline, in 31 BC.
It's essentially a god that chose to show up in person. But let's not underestimate what it's facing. Mark Antony's fleet at Actium isn't a mob of wooden boats.
These are quinqueremes, 5-bank oared warships, engineered with a precision that Rome spent centuries perfecting.
Their bronze rams can punch through enemy hulls at ramming speed. Their towers carry trained archers.
Artillery catapults launching 50-pound stones, and soldiers who've been fighting since childhood. Roman naval commanders are masters of formation tactics, flanking maneuvers, and psychological warfare. They've broken entire civilizations through sheer disciplined brutality.
And behind the fleet sits the broader Roman war machine, the most sophisticated logistics network in the ancient world. Supply lines stretching across the Mediterranean, and an army of 70,000 soldiers on land that no naval battle alone can neutralize.
Rome has survived Hannibal crossing the Alps with war elephants. Rome does not panic easily.
But Rome has never seen anything like this. It starts before the Romans even know there's a threat. At 6 o'clock, the Ford launches 2 E-2D Hawkeye.
Within minutes, they've mapped every Roman vessel in a 300-mile radius. Their positions, their speed, their formation gaps.
The data streams back to the carrier in real time. The Ford's combat system categorizes 230 vessels simultaneously. On the Roman flagship, a lookout squints at the horizon and sees something vast and gray that doesn't move like any ship he's ever seen. He opens his mouth to report it. He doesn't get the chance. The first FA-18 pair drops to 200 feet and goes supersonic.
Oarsmen drop their oars. Horses on transport ships rear and throw men overboard. Soldiers who hold formation against...
A sound like the sky splitting, and then 2 dark shapes are already gone, banking hard to the north before anyone can process what just happened.
The psychological damage is already done. But the Ford hasn't fired a single round. Now it does. 2 Super Hornets swing back in a wide arc and line up on the command cluster, Antony's heaviest quinqueremes.
Identifiable by their elevated command towers. The pilots select Mark 82 unguided bombs.
At this range, precision isn't even required.
The first bomb hits a command quinquereme dead center. The detonation doesn't just sink the ship.
It vaporizes the upper deck, sends the ram spinning to the air, and creates its...
No warning, no escalation, no counterattack possible. Antony's officers are screaming conflicting orders.
Half the fleet tries to tighten formation, the instinct drilled into every Roman naval commander. The other half begins breaking toward open water.
This is exactly the wrong response to an air threat. But there is no right response to an air threat in 31 BC.
Because the concept doesn't exist yet. The Hawkeyes flagged the breakaway group. 2 more FA-18s are already in the air.
They carry AGM-65 Maverick missiles, fire and forget, infrared guided, each one capable of destroying a tank.
Against a wooden galley packed with oarsmen and a full cargo of pitch and oil, the result is not a sinking.
It's a detonation. 4 ships become fire in under a minute. By this point, Antony's formation has completely collapsed.
Veteran soldiers who've marched across 3 continents are jumping into open water. Captains are abandoning their vessels.
The Axiom battle that historically lasted most of a day is, in practical terms, already over.
But here's where it gets complicated. The Ford can destroy the fleet. What it cannot do is conquer Rome. The carrier needs resupply every few weeks.
Jet fuel, ordnance, food for 5,000 crew. In 31 BC, none of that exists within 2,000 years.
Every bomb dropped is irreplaceable.
Impressive until you consider that Rome has 28 legions, dozens of fortified cities,
And a landmass stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia.
Destroying a fleet is one afternoon's work, forcing Rome's political surrender from the sea.
against a civilization that has no concept of the weapon being used against it, and therefore no mechanism to formally respond to it, is a different problem entirely. There's also the question of who the Ford is even fighting for. At Actium, it's Octavian versus Antony, both Roman. Picking a side in a Roman civil war from a nuclear aircraft carrier is arguably the most complicated geopolitical situation in human history. When the smoke clears over the Ionian Sea, Antony's fleet is gone. Not damaged, not retreating.
Gone. 230 ships reduced to burning wreckage and drifting oars across 10 square miles of water. Roman soldiers who survived would later describe it in the only language available to them: divine punishment. Rome itself would carry on, because Rome always carries on. But the Battle of Actium, the moment that was supposed to decide the took about 40 minutes.